It is 2 a.m. You are clinging to the absolute edge of your mattress, a sliver of blanket barely covering your shoulder, while your dog is splayed out like a starfish, occupying 80% of the bed. You lie there in the dark, calculating the physics of how a 40-pound animal has somehow become a monolithic anchor, pinning down the entire comforter. You probably think they do this just because the bed is soft, or because you radiate heat like a human space heater. Or maybe it is just a habit they picked up as a puppy. You are wrong. Your dog is not invading your personal space for comfort, and they are certainly not doing it to be clingy. That heavy, snoring weight pressed against your leg is actually the execution of a highly calculated, multi-millennium evolutionary and neurochemical decision. What is happening inside your dog's brain, the exact moment they fall asleep pressed against your skin, defies everything we once believed about animal behavior. And the biological truth of why they refuse to sleep anywhere else will entirely change how you look at your dog in the morning. To understand what is driving this midnight real estate takeover, you have to look at the research pouring out of Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest, where cognitive scientists have spent years mapping the canine mind. They ran dogs through a psychological framework originally designed for human infants called the Ainsworth Strange Situation. The researchers were looking for 3 specific behaviors: proximity seeking, separation distress, and reunion calm. These are the exact markers human toddlers use to navigate the world using their mothers as a secure base. The results completely dismantled the boundary between human and animal psychology. The researchers found that 61% of dogs are securely attached to their owners. That is not just a high number, that is the exact same ratio of secure attachment found in human toddlers. When your dog jumps onto the bed and circles 3 times before collapsing against your hip, they are not just looking for a soft place to rest their joints. They are acting out a profound psychological imperative. To a securely attached infant, the mother is a shield against a chaotic universe. When your dog chooses to sleep beside you, matching the rhythm of their breathing to yours, they are communicating one undeniable fact: you are the safest entity in their entire world. This psychological safety is not just a feeling, it is a hardwired biological feedback mechanism that dictates their physical survival. A landmark study published in the journal Science by researchers at Azabu University in Japan finally identified the exact machinery behind this bond, and it comes down to a single molecule called oxytocin. You might know it as the love hormone, the chemical cascade that floods a mother's brain when she holds her newborn. When your dog rests their chin on your chest and looks up at you, an invisible microscopic loop is activated. Your dog looks into your eyes, and a surge of oxytocin floods their system. That gaze triggers your brain to release the exact same chemical, dropping your heart rate and easing your tension. You look back down at them, feeling that wash of affection, and your gaze causes their oxytocin levels to spike even higher. It is a continuous, self-amplifying circuit of chemical devotion. But here's the punch that changes everything. If you try to recreate this exact same loop with a wolf, even a wolf raised by humans from the moment it opened its eyes, nothing happens. The loop remains dead. The wolf feels nothing, and no chemical bridge is formed. Your dog, however, leverages this biological tether every single night. Just 10 minutes of physical contact with you sends out a signal that physically lowers cortisol, the stress hormone, in both of your bodies. Your dog presses against you to trigger this neurochemical drop, forcibly altering their own biology and yours, perfectly preparing both of your nervous systems for deep, restorative sleep. This neurochemical magic did not just appear overnight, and to grasp the magnitude of what is happening in your bed, we have to go back 15,000 years. Before humanity invented farming, before we scratched the first written words into clay, before the concept of a city even existed, picture an ancient human encampment. A fragile circle of firelight holding back a vast, terrifying darkness, with the silhouettes of wolves lurking just beyond the edge of the flames. Most of those predators stayed in the shadows, but something unprecedented happened to the ones that stepped into the light. At a 14,000-year-old burial site in modern-day Germany, archaeologists uncovered the remains of a sick dog. The bones told a devastating story of canine distemper, a brutal viral disease. But the bones also told a story of survival. Early humans nursed that heavily incapacitated animal through 5 agonizing weeks of illness, sharing their scarce resources with a creature of a different species. They did not do that for a hunting tool, they did it for a companion. And over thousands of generations of these campfires and shared meals, the science shifted. If you look at chromosome 6 in a modern dog, you will find genetic insertions for extreme hypersociability. These are genetic markers that wolves simply do not have. We did not just domesticate dogs by keeping them captive. By sharing our fires and our lives, humans literally rewrote their DNA to desperately need human presence. The weight of your dog against your leg tonight is the echo of 15,000 years of genetic engineering, a biological mandate forcing them to seek out your warmth. But this ancient genetic pull brings us to a massive contradiction, one that has baffled sleep researchers for decades. If you look at objective data from the Mayo Clinic, the metrics are brutal. Dogs unequivocally disrupt human sleep cycles. They twitch, they kick, they bark at phantom squirrels in their dreams, and they steal the blankets. By all quantifiable medical standards, having a dog in your bed should leave you exhausted and depleted. Yet, when you look at the psychological data, the exact opposite is true. A comprehensive 2024 study out of the University of Jyväskylä in Finland revealed that owners consistently report feeling significantly more rested and restored when their dog is present in the bed. The answer to this paradox lies in a biological phenomenon called heart rate variability co-regulation. Heart rate variability is the measure of time between your heartbeats, and it is a primary indicator of nervous system recovery. When a bonded dog rests against you in the dark, its nervous system physically reaches out and synchronizes its rhythm with yours. Your breathing slows to match theirs. Your heartbeats fall into a harmonious, synchronized pattern, plunging your autonomic nervous system into a state of profound physiological safety. If you put an unfamiliar human in the same bed, your body remains vigilant, your heart rate erratic. This deeply healing synchronization does not happen with strangers. It only happens with a bonded dog. Because this behavior is so deeply embedded in their DNA and their neurochemistry, any disruption to this nighttime ritual is a siren ringing in the dark. If your dog has slept by your side for years and suddenly stops, if they start seeking out the cold tile of the bathroom or the isolation of the living room couch, you must pay attention. It is never random, and it is never just a passing phase. A sudden withdrawal from the bed is often the loudest way a silent animal can scream for help. The first and most common culprit is physical pain. The reluctance to jump up onto a high mattress is frequently the earliest detectable sign of osteoarthritis or hidden joint deterioration. They want to be with you, but the blinding pain in their hips or spine forces them to stay on the floor. But there is a second, far more devastating reason for this withdrawal. 35% of dogs over 8 years old will develop canine cognitive dysfunction, the animal equivalent of dementia. This cruel disease systematically destroys their spatial memory and violently disrupts their internal sleep routines. A dog suffering from cognitive decline will pace the dark hallways, confused by the shadows, completely forgetting the comforting routine of the bedroom they have slept in for a decade. If your shadow suddenly stops following you to bed, do not wait to see if they snap out of it. They are telling you that their body or their mind is failing, and they urgently need you to listen. When you understand the science, the history, and the absolute fragility of your dog's life, that 2 a.m. frustration begins to look entirely different. The next time you wake up teetering on the edge of the mattress, freezing because the blanket is gone, look at the animal sleeping next to you. They did not end up on your side of the bed by accident, and they are not there just to steal your space. Out of every person on earth, out of every competing smell, out of every comfortable option available to them in the house, their DNA and their heart demanded that they be as close to you as physically possible. They chose their human. Drop a comment below and tell me, what percentage of the bed does your dog take up tonight? And while you are thinking about how deeply your dog is connected to you, you need to understand what happens when you are both awake. The way your dog stares into your eyes is driven by a completely different neurological pathway. And the science behind why they watch your every move is even more mind-bending than anything we just covered. Which is exactly what we are breaking down in this next video.